Okay.
E você, a maluca da vida. E você, a minha fantasia. E você, desnorteada briga. E você, a minha perdição. Eu não sei dormir se na tua
Let's do this, guys. Welcome everyone, or whoever is watching this show, Jaguar Omaere, which is a show or a program meant to share or expand environmental consciousness. Our sponsors are Cerveza Itinerante, the best craft beer in Ecuador, no doubt. This is no doubt. There's better craft beer than Cerveza Itinerante. It's delivery service in Quito. So if you're in Quito, you're in luck. It's delivery service to your home. We also have Shiripuno Lodge, an amazing lodge, unique lodge, remote. You are surrounded by miles and miles of forest with candles. Where can you get that? Every lodge has electricity, and you are not together with nature anymore. So this place still works with candles. Where else can you get that? So talk to us and come and visit in Ecuador. We're gonna put links and everywhere you can comment and everything else to share this talk. And finally, we have Sumaco Ñawi, which is our project of restoration of forests that are together with national parks. We're gonna get into Sumaco Ñawi project in this talk, so stay to know. And okay, so we are gonna talk today why should we care about forests and the diversity that we have in them. And that's why we have these awesome characters right here. Today we have Daniel Hicks and Harold Fernando Vaca. Guys, it's good to have you here, both of you. They are both naturalists with a long career of naturalists, biologists, ecology. They have a long career in nature until this pandemic happened. Of course, now we are all enclosed, guys. So welcome, guys. Please say hello.
Thank you very much. Hello. How are you all?
Hello, guys. How are you? Good to be here.
All right, guys. So pretty much what I would like to discuss, it's pretty much, since we are enclosed here, we're quarantining all here closed, and I'm pretty sure that you've noticed while we are unemployed, nature protectors are unemployed, nature destroyers are employed. They do have a work, and they're working way harder than before. We can see on the news here in the country that we are right now, in Ecuador, in Colombia, in Argentina, in Brazil, the deforestation is really scary and it's heartbreaking. For example, from January to April this year, at the size of Manhattan, this 20 times the size of Manhattan is being already logged in Brazil. It's just an example what is going on in Brazil. Then in Ecuador we have all other things going on, but it's horrible, the deforestation that is going on. So why is important? Why should I care about the forest, guys? Who would like to talk about this? Why should I care about forests to start with?
I think before we get onto that, almost, it's important to say that we always think of value, right?
Right.
Everything comes down to value. So there are different kinds of value. There are two different kinds of value that exist. They are basically instrumental value. That's the direct value to us of something, something it may give us, something we receive directly from it. It's worth this much because it gives me this. And the other that is generally ignored, that's the issue, is an intrinsic value, right? An intrinsic value, it's a value of something as it is, just because it is, because it's there. It doesn't give me anything necessarily, but it's just there, so I value it. We get caught up, and unfortunately the world runs on the first one, an instrumental or economic value.
Yeah. Yes.
So the reason that, for example, we're sitting here, unfortunately, with nothing to do, or with very little to do, let's say, but the others that have just been mentioned have got lots to do, it's because theirs has a value, and it's continuing, obviously, and they're doing it kind of, on the quiet, let's say. So whatever we get to, whatever answer we give, everything comes down to value. True. Depending on which one you choose, obviously, that's where you have to start from. You have to find a value for something.
A value that doesn't really necessarily requires the destroying the forest, right?
The issue is that we, as humans, can't see both of the values at the same time. We can't see one over the other, right? So why are the forests being destroyed while we're sitting here at home? Because unfortunately, a lot of people are very lacking funds, let's say, and the easiest way of making money is to take the best wood from the rainforest, let's say, right? Obviously, it's short term. It's short-term gain. When we have the chance, when we get to the point of having the time or the money, let's say, to just take a moment, we see that there's very often a much higher value on the other side. It's when we can realize, let's say, when we can find that alternative value, that very often is much, much higher, however, a much longer term, then things start to change.
So then what would it be the longer term value that we should get more conscious of? What would it be? Maybe we know, obviously we know, but maybe it's not clear for all the rest of the, especially I'm sure it's not clear for the nature destroyers why there's this value. Why? What is it? Which is this value, guys?
Obviously, the value that we, as naturalist guides, as biologists, yes, we work with this value. We work for this value almost every day, except when there's a pandemic going on, right? Ecotourism has been proven around the world. It doesn't matter where you're talking about. Around the world, ecotourism has been proven to be the best alternative and the best form of generating money and preserving the natural world.
Yeah.
However, it's not immediate. That's the issue.
What about natural services? What about water, clean air? We need that to survive. Not just petrol. Like in the case of Ecuador, our main income is oil, right? We're selling poison to the earth, guys. I don't know.
Absolutely.
You have something
the struggle is long-term, short-term, right? That's the struggle. It's opening people's eyes to the long-term over the short-term.
Right.
If people can't see the long-term higher economic value of something, if they don't know it exists, then things are never going to change.
Right. No, let me hold it right there. What you just said, I have a saying, a really cool saying of a really clever lady called Robin Ganser. She said, people want to protect what they don't love, and they can't love what they don't know. It's because you just say, right, guys? So how can I protect something that I have no clue of? So this is what we're talking about this right now. So at least try to share this knowledge of why should I care about forests, okay? So yes.
Why should we care about forests? Because it's everything to us. Because wilderness is everything to us. The way we're doing it so far is been shown not to be the right way. As Daniel was saying, that the values are very important. Since that we are losing all these values, those values are not given in school, are not given in the family, are not given in the society. It's very hard to reach them, because what is today given to kids in school and society is to get rich by any means. You know, it doesn't care if you have to kill a river. It doesn't care if you have to kill a tree. It doesn't care if you have to kill people, right? So if those values are stronger than the value of having clean air, of having clear water, of having a good source of food, then those will be meaningless, right? So I think the whole responsibility in this case relies on education. The education that we're giving, the education that we are receiving, all right? So as Dan was mentioned, the ecotourism has been proved and shown in the numbers that is one of the best ways to educate in a big mass of people, and at the same time creates economic value, and also these other values, the higher values, the values of respect for nature, the values to think about what the future generations need to have.
Right. Yeah. This is what we're clearly missing these values, and so I like that education is pretty much uh, what is everything. You know. Let me another saying. I'm full of kind of cool sayings sometimes. Another saying that Harold remind me over here. He says that the superior man seeks what is right, the inferior one what is profitable. It's Confucius. Confucius said that. But how do we know what is right? What is the difference between right and wrong? It's because of this, like what you just said, is education. How can we know? So we need to spread the word of this conservation around, like you say, the values. And who decides to give it more education to the people or not? Politicians? Would you
At
agree?
the moment they do. At the moment, politicians set up all what it needs to be taught to society. But I think is not right. It's not right because we have seen where we are now. We have raised the temperature of our planet. We are dumping a lot of shit into the ocean. We are using more cars than ever. So that is not the right education we need. I think now the education relies on ourselves, and we have the biggest access to knowledge today, and no other generation ever had it. So we have internet, for example. So there is a lot of knowledge there that can be focused and streamed to in a different way, in a different format. So at this point, we have to take the education in our own hands and give it to people, to our own families. We want to make the change starts with us. We educate ourselves, we get the best resources that they are reliable for ourselves, and then we pass it to our family, to our friends, to our community, and then we go
Right.
for the change. So if we were thinking in the same way politicians are being working on and trying to get a standardizing system of education, it's being shown that it's wrong. It doesn't work.
Right, right. So it's like you said, it starts privately, like tourism in Ecuador, for example. The government never actually supported tourism. It is supporting oil, petrol, selling poison to the world, mining. That's what the government has been supporting. Never really supported tourism. It was brought up by privately, right? So maybe we should, like you said, maybe we should start focusing on that. For example, like we have national parks, but the laws given to protect the national park are not exactly respected, are there, guys? Like, for example, we have this beautiful Yasuni National Park here in Ecuador. For the people that haven't been there and are watching us or hearing us, this is probably the most mega diverse place on earth. I actually have a little book here. It's called Yasuni. It's beautiful book. Maybe people knows it. And there's a part here. If maybe when I can edit this video, I can also put this image over here. I put a map that indicates why this area is mega diverse and this place. Why it's supposed to be this park in Ecuador? It's supposed to be it's UNESCO World Heritage. So it belongs to me, to you, to Harold, to Daniel Hicks over there, and anybody else in the world, to the indigenous people that live there. And still, it's being the oil is being exploited over there, and there's a lot of logging there, and it's also a lot of hunting, illegal hunting over there. I think this is happening in Ecuador, maybe in South America. Like, tell us, Daniel, could you tell us maybe, are there national parks in the UK? Do you still have forests in the UK, or are they all gone?
There's very little. Less than 2% of the original primary forests of Britain still exist, right?
Oh, man.
You go to a national park in the UK and most of it's bare grass with lots of sheep on it.
Okay.
Right? It's supposedly natural. Try and argue that, and with the government, for example, and no. The park's valuable as it is because so many people pay to go there to see the beautiful scenery, the hills with no trees and lots of sheep. I think that's why, and it's the same, for example, in the developed world, whether it's, you talk about the rest of Europe, a lot of Europe, the US, Canada, for example, why so many of the visitors to Ecuador, to the rainforests, let's say, are coming from those countries. That's one of the reasons that there we don't have any to go and look at.
Right.
Right. So we're going somewhere else. We're exploring the world.
Yeah.
But
So we're here. A lot of like us here. We're world travelers. We've been in many places in the world, and we've seen. Personally, I've noticed that sadly the last forests are here in South America, and we're destroying it like it won't be the last one. Like there's nothing. Like there will be again. Like we can renew them. Maybe we can, but it will take a lot of time. So this is why this is so critical to protect these forests, because sadly they are the last ones on Earth. Like Daniel was saying, there's only 2% in the UK. So that's an example of one of the countries of the first world over there. But at least I hope they are protecting their national parks the way it should be, without exploiting the nature, the natural resources, which is in this case the worst one is the petrol, right? So since we're talking about national parks not being respected, should we create private national parks, like is maybe the case of Sumaco Ñawi and our project Jaguar Omaere? Do you think this could be a solution, guys? Maybe creating private parks that belongs to a lot of people? I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
So what I think in this case is, given that the laws are weak, they are not strong enough to protect national parks or wildlife reserves, and especially in places like Ecuador, we have to come out with a different approach towards conservation. And Sumaco Ñawi, definitely that is the idea. The idea is that local people can go and do different activities to start having land ownership around national parks and create a shield to protect and be one of the first and the private people to fight against logging, to fight against mining, to fight against any other cause of deforestation or human interaction with it. So I think we have now to do it because we have the money. We people have a lot of money, and that can be a stream towards conservation, thinking that this area is going to be used in the long-term future.
Yes. Yes. So yes, what Harold pretty much is talking about this is the way now. The way to fight back this destroying of nature is protect what we already have, like the forests that we still have. We should protect them. If they're already been logged, we should restore them, and we should fund the people that are doing this, which is our project. Daniel Hicks, Harold Fernando over here. We all, myself, we do this. So we through funding, we buy pieces of land next to national parks and restore them. Yes, and it'll be cool. Like the idea is that this funding belongs to everybody that helped. Yes, and we can also give incentives. Like if you supported, let's say $100, you can stay there a weekend in this place. If we can put a camping site over there, or maybe there's a eco growing of some plots. Well, I don't know what I'm talking right now, but we can do like the many kinds of projects. This is just the start. Maybe if you support it with a $500, you can stay a whole week in this place, and it belongs legally. It belongs to everybody. So this is the idea that we have right now, and this is why we're looking for funding. This is just the start. We have many places that we can actually buy and start restoring the forest to give us all the services we've been talking about, the pollination of the animals. We eat fruits. You like fruits? Okay, so you want to preserve forests. Okay, drinkable water, air. This is what the forest gives you, not petrol, nor just biomass. Do you guys know why? What are the reasons of what are the reasons of chopping off the forests, guys? I don't think there's biomass in Ecuador, right? But that's one of the reasons of why in other countries there's chopping off the rainforest, because to create biomass, which is just creating chips. They call it wood chips, so they don't call them trees. So it doesn't seem like it's too harsh. Biomass. What else? Paper. I don't know. You tell me, guys. Who wants to tell me about why are the reasons of chopping off the forest? Like what is, because the income is much faster than ecotourism, right?
Again, the uses obviously of the forest, let's say, are very different depending where you are, right? You've mentioned a couple that, yes, from the more temperate climes, let's say. Yes, those issues, it's incredible that we're burning up, for example, forests from mainly Canada, for example, for the UK, for Europe, the biofuels.
All right.
However, you get to Ecuador, and obviously it's a very different matter, right? Why the forests here are being cleared is very, very different. Generally, it's a direct, I'm cutting down the forest to sell off the wood and then put cows on that grass. It's a very, very different, they're very different reasons. And again, depending which country you're talking to, let's say, right, they're very different issues that you have to talk about. Educating, for example, somebody of whatever age in, let's say, the developed world, we don't have the need to go and clear that patch of forest to put cattle on it. But again, it's just bringing about that conscience. Right, waking people up, making them realize that we're doing this to our natural world, because there's a disconnect. In Ecuador, although, yes, the issue of deforestation as such is much greater, there is still much more of a connection to the natural world. Still a lot more, for example, children grow up in the countryside, close to a forest or a reserve, or the natural world. in so many places, obviously, you talk about the Western world, the vast majority of people, the vast majority of children have almost no contact with the natural world, no direct contact with the natural world. They're almost disconnected from it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's something that we need to do, basically, and it's something that when all of this, at least, is not going to get back to the same normal, but when we can get out and about again, I think it's so important to take, for example, not just those that have children, taking your children to, whether it's, first of all, the park, the city park, where there are trees, where there are birds, for example, where there are insects, or friends, for example, that don't get out into the natural world. We need to get those people out and see what it is, because only when you see something you can start to really learn about it, and not only learning from a book or from a website, but learning and understanding really what it is, coming into contact with it. Once that starts to happen, you start to form almost a bond or a connection with the natural world at whatever level. It might be a very intense level as we have, or it could literally be people would like to see a nice, bright, colorful little bird singing up in the trees. But once that bond, that connection starts to form, that's when we start to find or accept, let's say, the other values, the intrinsic values that I mentioned right at the beginning, of preserving an area, a patch of forest, for example, for what it is. Not because it gives me necessarily anything economic, no economic value, but just preserving it because I see, for example, maybe an inner beauty, something about it that I think is valuable. All right? So it's really, we need to get people out into the natural world, because until people get out there, they form no connection with it. Until they have a connection, there's no real feeling for it. And once there is that, then there's a demand. Once you have a demand for something, then you bring up actually more and more options for the projects that we've mentioned, things like people wanting to go and visit those projects and take part in those. Until we get people to actually realize that the natural world exists, what's around us. If people have no idea about it, there's no interest in it. Right? So that's going to be so important. Once we can get out again, we really need to get out, whether, as I said, with friends, with family, whoever it is, get people out into the natural world, see it, hear it, and start to feel it a little bit. Then maybe things will start to change, right? Little by little. There's not going to be a great jump, but little by little.
Yes, definitely, Daniel. You made me think about who are the people that are naturally the closest to nature. Like you were talking about this closeness to nature. It made me thought of the indigenous people, our Amerindians, which are a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are born in the forest, and a lot of them don't know how to live without the forest. Just don't know how to live like us in the city. They just don't know how to. So it's really hard to put ourselves in that perspective. Would you say, guys, that indigenous people or our Amerindians are the ultimate forest protectors, the nature protectors? Would you say that?
Well, at the moment they have shown up that they are the last defenders of the natural world. They have been fighting against the big companies, the big funds, the big money for decades. So they are the defenders today. But what will happen if all the defenders get civilized, get more to the technological world? We will lose them. So I think it's time for other people that are halfway connected with nature some way, that they need to be the backup to help them, to make them stronger, because they don't want to leave their natural habitat. They want to live in there, and they want to bring technology, knowledge to their land, to their people, but they are having every time less supporters, and we can see it. We have seen it that every time they're losing territories because the development is coming, the exploitation of the natural resources in their reserves and their ancestral land is coming, and day by day they are losing it. And that is the sad part, is that they are losing it in front of our eyes. It's happening in front of ourselves, and we do nothing for them. We just keep signing up notes and sending them to congressmen or politicians, but that's it. That's the end. That doesn't stop the big money to come over and take over their ancestral land. So if we lose the indigenous people fight, that's it, man. That's it. Because nobody else will fight at the same level, at the same kind of commitment that they do when they do fight for their land. Because as Daniel was mentioning, if we don't have this direct connection with nature, we kind of lost it. We don't know what we're fighting for. We will just be carrying flags, but it doesn't mean any connections to us.
Right.
So
right. This is definitely basic. It's crucial. It's crucial, Harold. Yes. This is a very important subject. We should cover these subjects in another appointment, in another talk, because we can get deeper in these subjects. Sadly, my friends, we're running out of time. So we have to finish this talk, and we're gonna make another one in Spanish. Maybe have a little break from this podcast. If you like this talk, guys, share it to your friends. If you didn't like it, share it to your enemies. Doesn't matter. Just share it to your enemies. Just share anybody. And if you maybe want to get deeper into a subject about this talk that we just had, you can comment below in the social media. Comment about maybe you want to participate in a subject. Maybe you want us to get deeper into a subject that has to do about environmental consciousness. Guys, I thank a lot to Fernando and Daniel Hicks for being here, guys. Thank you for your knowledge. And I'll be seeing you soon. Thank our sponsors. And yes, till next time, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Great to be here. Great to be here, guys.
Yes.
Sharing
Okay,
something.
my friends. So we'll